elite. So this is how the elite in the society accommodate the non-elite. The non-elite also may become the elite after some time, but the accommodating non-elite as elite is very slow and very continuous. And why non-elites are accommodated as elite? It is to avoid any revolution and resentment among the masses. So there may be general dissatisfaction against the elites in any society. And to dispel that dissatisfaction among the masses, the non-elites are accommodated into elite positions. So this is one. The elite theory envisages the policy direction is given by the elite. The elite has the responsibility of making policies for all the poor people. The agricultural policy, the industrial policy, the education policy, policy related to import and exports, external policy, foreign policy, all these policies are formulated by the elite sections. And these elite sections try to satisfy the demands of the non-elite. And on behalf of the government, the elite used to formulate policies for the non-elite. Here we must know the difference between elite and non-elite. Elite generally people with educational background, the middle class background, are called as the elite sections. And these elite sections are educated. They belong to the middle classes and upper middle classes. And they are the successors of the government from the colonial masters. When India left independent by Britishers, it is the colonial masters who have given power to the elite, some of the elite, educated people, educated lawyers, educated educationalists, educated middle classes, educated economists. They took the mantle of power after the colonial masters left. This happened in every country. That means the colonial masters do not have the expertise for policy formulation. That's why the responsibility of policy making is taken by the elite. The elite took the responsibility to make the policies. So, in the elite model, it is the elite are the educated people, are the people with certain good qualities, or expertise. They are called as the elite. They try to make the policies, the public policies on behalf of the government. And policy direction is given by elite. And it is the elite people that formulate the policies. They get the approval of the policy by the parliament, and they also implement the policies. So this is our policy formulation, policy implementation, and policy review, the periodical review of policies. Everything is done by the elite. So the officials and administrators constituted the elite. And these officials and these administrators used to execute the policies, implement the policies. And whenever there is a problem, either in the policy formulation or in the policy execution, it is the elite that whole responsibility, and they used to satisfy the needs of the people. So, in the elite theory, we have these points. The first point is in every society, there are two sections of people. One is the general masses, the second one is educated middle classes. They are called as the elite. The second point is it is the educated middle classes and educated professionals who took the responsibility of policy making. They formulate the policies. And thirdly, the responsibility of policy formulation, policy execution, and policy review is always in the hands of the elite. It is only the elite, the educated middle classes, some of the officials, some of the political leaders are educated in the West, and some of the leaders have educated in India itself. So they have taken the responsibility of formulating the policies. The fourth point is the elite also have certain values. Their value system is incoherent with the value system of the general masses. So elite people work with devotion and they identify the problems of the people and they formulate the policies that are required for the solution of the problems of the general public. This is the fourth point. And likewise, the non-elite can also become elite over a period of time. In a slow and continuous manner, the non-elite can also be accommodated into elite groups because the non-elite may have some dissatisfaction or frustration in their minds because they are thrown out of the power. They are away from the power. So to satisfy the non-elite from being without power, the elite people accommodate the non-elite in certain positions, but in an incremental manner, not wholeheartedly, but in an incremental manner, non-elite is accommodated into elite positions. So this is to dispel the frustration and dissatisfaction among the non-elite on the political system, administrative system, and the elite. So this is how the elite theory gives us an idea about how the public policies are made in the absence of educated people in any society. According to this theory, as soon as the decolonization started and the country started getting independence, the educated middle classes formed as elite in each country of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and they have taken the responsibility of policy formulation. This elite theory is proposed by Wilfredo Pareto, Robert Michaels, Gastano Mosca, C. Wright Mills, and others. So this is how this elite theory is proposed. According to this theory, the general society consisting of two types of people. One is the general masses, the second one is the elite. The general masses only possess general qualities, not so specific qualities. But the middle classes always possess certain special qualities of running the administration. Secondly, in the elite theory, all the educated middle classes take the responsibility of policy formulation, policy execution, and policy appraisal, policy review. In fact, every policy is to be reviewed periodically, once in 6 months or once in 1 year. every policy needed to be reviewed. So, policy review or policy evaluation is also to be undertaken by the elite sections. So, this is called as the elite theory. In fact, the very word elite is a French word that denotes a group of people with special qualities, special qualifications are called as elite. In every society, we find elite. Generally, in every society, we find elite in the form of education middle classes with education, educational background. We have lawyer groups, we have doctors, we have teachers, we have industrialists. So, all these people are called as elite. And these elite sections contribute for the policy formulation. And elite sections also participate in policy execution. In fact, elite also become administrators and policymakers and officials and people with higher echelons of bureaucracy, and they implement all the policies. The implementation of the policies is done by the elite sections of the people. And lastly, the elite also evaluate the policies. They participate in the periodical evaluation of the policies. So, this is about the elite theory. In the elite theory, we have to first write about the theorists who gave this theory. There are four important theorists who gave this elite theory on public policy. The first one is Wilfredo Pareto is the first person. Second, Robert Michaels. And thirdly, Gaetano Mosca. And fourthly, C. Wright Mills. So these are the important philosophers who have given this theory of the elite policy making. The first point in this elite theory is in every society, there are two sections of people. One is the general masses. The second one is the elite sections with certain specific qualities. The general masses have a general tendency of socio-economic nature. But elite people have certain special qualities of qualification, education, social prestige, social recognition, economic prosperity. These are some of the specific identities of the elite people in the elite sections. This is the first point. Secondly, elite people took the mantle of power as soon as the colonialism is ended, decolonization is started, and once the nations of Asia, Africa, and South America got their independence, the colonial masters handed over the power to these elite sections. And these elite sections started governing the people. And thirdly, the elite sections formulate the public policies on behalf of the government to the general masses. In fact, the elite people have knowledge about the problems of the people, the solutions that are required for solving the problems, and the steps that are to be taken to avoid the problems in the governance. So, elite people take the responsibility of governing the people. And fourthly, the elite people take the responsibility of policy formulation, policy execution, and policy evaluation. And ultimately, elite people also accommodate the non-elite into power structures. The non-elite is accommodated as elite only to avoid frustration and dissatisfaction that is accrued among the non-elite people against the elites. To dispel that dissatisfaction, against the elite. The non-elite are accommodated into administrative positions and political positions. So this is how elite theory describes about how the society undergoes a change when public policy making is in the hands of the elite people. And public policy making involves in decision making, problem identification, and policy formulation. All these matters related to public policies are taken by the elite sections. It is only the elite sections that are responsible for policy formulation, policy evaluation, and policy execution. So this is called as the elite theory. The second important theory related to public policy is the group theory. The group theory is an American theory. It is given by three American scientists, namely Charles Lindblom, Robert Dahl, and N. Paulsbay. So these are the three important philosophers who gave the group theory. According to this theory, it is the groups in the society that bargain with the government and extract the benefits. Whichever the group that is successful in bargaining with the state gets maximum benefits, and the group that fails to bargain with the state gets the minimum benefits or zero benefits. So it is the ability of the group that bargain with the government shows how benefits are to be accrued. According to group theory, in every society, there are pluralistic groups. In every society, there are many groups. We have student groups, farmers groups, industrialist groups. Likewise, we have groups related to farmers, students, old people, young people, women, tribals, Dalits, backward classes, minorities. So, in every society, there are various groups of people, and these groups of people always put forward their demands to the government. Suppose the agricultural farmers are there. They demand free electricity for their agricultural operations. They demand subsidized seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides for their agricultural operations. In the industrial sector, all the industrialists may demand a subsidized power for all the industries that provide employment to some of the laborers. And likewise, the student union demand free travel for all the students from the state capital to all the district level colleges. So this is how in every society there are pluralistic groups, the groups which are in plural nature. And these groups always maintain their members of the group and they put forth their demands before the government. It is the government that take the decisions on the demands of the various groups. Take, for example, a group in Telangana state, the employees group. They demand more salaries for the employees. The pensioners demand for pensionary benefits for the employee who are retired from service. Unlike with the Dalits, Adivasis, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward castes, they also demand certain benefits for their respective social groups. So, in every society, there are various groups. These groups are professional groups, social groups, economic groups, technical groups, political groups, likewise. So each group have fixed number of members in each group, and each group tries to work for the benefits of the members of the group. For example, the groups of students' unions, they always work for the benefit of the students. The groups in farmers, all the farmers groups try to put forth the demands of the farmers with the government. They wanted policies for the benefit of the farming community. And likewise, there are groups for industrialist classes, trade union classes. So this is how in every society there are various groups. Take for example the women's groups. The women's groups have been existing right from 100 to 150 years. The first generation women's groups demanded the right to vote for all the women. They also demanded a right to have a limited family structure. And women also demanded equal educational rights, equal opportunities in public employment, equal opportunities for political positions, and so on. So, this is how, in every society, we find so many groups. We find as many groups in a society as there are professions in the society. For each and every profession, there is a group. For each and every group, there are members, and these members always try to solve the problems of their members. The members of the group have fixed agenda, and these groups always try to achieve their demands from the government. This is called as group theory. And this group theory is given by three great people. Charles Lindblom of America, Robert Dahl of America, and N. Paulsby. He's also from US, America. And these three important political philosophers of post-World War, post-war political science department, they have demanded the studies on groups, the working of groups, the policy making, policy formulation, and policy execution. So according to the group theory, it is these groups that put forth the demands with the government. So group theory has certain important points. Let us discuss it. First of all, group propagated by three important administrative thinkers. The first one is Charles Lindblom. Charles Lindblom is the first philosopher. The second one is Robert Dahl. And third one is N. Paulsby. So these are the three philosophers who are also the political scientists who have put forth the demand for the study on various groups in any society. Their approach is called as group theory or group approach or group perspective. So the first point here is, according to group theory, in every society, there are pluralistic groups. There are many groups, and always these groups always put forth their demands with the government. And these groups always strive for the benefit of the members. So this is called as the group theory or group perspective. And secondly, they're also called as interest groups and pressure groups because the interests of the respective groups are represented before the government. For example, the farmers groups represent the interests of the farmers. The industrialist groups represent the interests of the industrialists. The student groups represent the interests of the students. The women's groups represent the interests of the women. So, likewise, these groups always identify the problems of the group and they represent these problems to the government for the early solution of these problems. This is the second important aspect. And third one is the state always bargains. The state bargains with the groups. The groups have so many demands, but the financial resources of the state are so narrow that it cannot satisfy all the demands of the groups. That's why the state always bargains the demands of various groups and it concedes only certain demands. It agrees only certain demands of the groups and certain demands are to be represented again in future by the groups. So this is how they are called as interest groups because they represent the interests of the groups before the government. Thirdly, there are various methods of representation of the group. The groups represent the demands of the people in the form of memorandum to the government. They may even struck a strike. They may pen down. They may sometimes even go for a general strike. Sometimes they may also hold lunch hour demonstrations. So these are all the various methods through which the demands of the groups are to be represented to the government. And thirdly, when the government looks into the demands of the people, the government bargains with the groups. The government makes a bargain with the groups and government concedes certain demands and it may oppose certain demands. And the government may also postpone these demands to a future date and the groups are asked to represent the same matter in the coming years, if not urgently now. So this is how the group theory suggests that every group met success with the government in getting acceptance for only certain groups, certain demands of the people. This is the fourth one. And fifth one is interest groups sometimes have conflicts of interest. What do you mean by conflict of interest? The interest represented by one group may oppose the interests of the other groups. That's called a conflict of interest. If there is a conflict of interest between groups, suppose the farmers demand subsidies for the agricultural products, but the industrialists demand the subsidies on agricultural products should not be entertained. So there is a conflict of interest. The demands of the agriculturists and demands of industries sometimes may come in clash with each other. Then the government interferes and bargains with the say both the groups. It bargains with the both groups and it takes the decisions only when the interests are aggregated. The responsibility of interest aggregation or coordinating the demands without striking off the demands and accommodating many demands in a package of demands. It is to be done by the government. So when the government bargains with the people, government always look at the nature of the demands. It may oppose certain demands and it will support certain demands. So this is how the interest aggregation, interest articulation is the technique of the pressure groups. The interest aggregation, that means coordinating the demands of all the groups and avoiding the conflicts between one group and the other group is the responsibility of the government. So friends, this is how the group theory works. Now let us discuss all the points in group theory. The group theory is propagated by certain Western political philosophers like Charles Windbaum, Robert Dahl, and Anne Paulsby. These are the three important philosophers who have worked so much on the functioning of various groups in various countries of the world. And they come out with certain theoretical formulations. According to these three important philosophers, the group theory consisted of representing the demands of the people in the government is the first and foremost important aspect of the group theory. And secondly, once the issue is represented to the government, the groups always marginally bargain with the government. A bargain with the government to accommodate many demands of the government, many demands of the pressure groups is the second important aspect. And thirdly, the interest groups put forth by their demands to the government only because they have the common demands of the group. All the group members have to have the same common demands of the group. And these demands are to be bargained with the state because the finances of the state are very limited. Sometimes the government cannot accommodate all the demands of all the groups. That's why the government makes a rightful bargain with the same group against the demands and with the two or three groups against certain demands which are in conflict with each other. If the demand of one group is in conflict with the demands of other groups, generally the government calls all the groups and it makes compromises on the demands of the people. So this is how group theory is an important theory to understand the dynamics of policy formulation, policy execution, and policy evaluation. It is more pertinent to Indian society because in India we have so many agricultural groups, industrial groups, women's groups, students groups. Likewise, there are so many groups. There are certain trade unions in the Indian society. So these groups put forth their demands right from the times of independence till date. All the groups are very active since the beginning of in the initial years of independence, in Indian independence. Some of the farmers groups represented their demands with the independent government. Likewise, during 1960s and 70s, the Green Revolution has come in the Indian society, and farmers groups have put forth their own new demands. And likewise, in 1990s, when liberalization and globalization have swayed all the policies of the whole the nation, the agriculturists, industrialists, and other groups have put forth their demand, and the government have conveniently coordinated the demands of all the groups with one goal. So this is how, when the groups demand for the implementation of certain demands, the government bargains and the government gets a nod from the trade unions and other groups. And whichever the agreement that is made, on that the public policies are formulated. So public policy formulation is a choice of the groups, and groups influence the public policy formulation at the stage of policy formulation, at the stage of policy approval, at the stage of policy execution, and at the stage of policy evaluation. At all the levels, the public policies are influenced by the groups. So these are the two important theories that we see today in the public administration and public policy making. The first one is the elite theory, the second one is the group theory. If we recapitulate some of the points of the elite theory, The elite theory is a theory that denotes that in every society there are general masses and also certain elite sections. And as soon as the independence is granted, the colonial masters have transferred the political power into the hands of the educated middle classes. And these educated middle classes have taken the responsibility of governing the country with self will. And as a result, the elite have come forward to formulate the policies, make the policy, and review the policies annually and biannually. So this is the elite theory. And likewise, in the group theory also, it is only the elite, it is only the groups. According to this theory, every society consists of so many groups, the plural groups, the plurality of groups. Many groups are there in every society. That's why the modern societies are called as pluralistic societies. We have the cultures also, many cultures are coexisting in the same country. That's why we can claim ourselves as a multicultural society. In a multicultural society, there are certain cultural groups, there are various religious groups, there are various education groups, there are various social groups, there are various economic groups. So, all these groups, they formulate the public policies and they compromise on the policies that are in conflict with other groups. When the same demands are put forth by two groups, and these demands are in conflict with each another group, between two groups, then the government bargains the demands. It makes a compromise. It coordinates the demands. So, elite theory propagates that it is the educated elite, educated middle classes that take active part in the policy formulation. Whereas in the group theory, the educated groups are the groups that control many human beings in a society and formed as a pressure group or interest groups that control the members and pressurize the government on policy formulation. So here the policy formulation, policy execution, and policy evaluation, all the three are to be done by the government. So this is called as the elite group, and there is also a group theory. In fact, elite theory was given by Wilfredo Pareto, Robert Michaels, Gautama Moscow, and Gautama Moscow. So these are the political philosophers that gave this theory of elite theory and group theory. Elite theory and group theory are the two theories that explain the policy making process, the policy formulation process. So the first point here is in every society, there are various groups. Every society is, in fact, a pluralistic society where the dominant groups, the employees groups, the student groups, the farmers groups, the industrialist groups. Likewise, there are as many groups as there are professions in the society. So these groups formulate various demands, and it is the demands of the government, it is the demands of the people that the government look into, and government make compromises on the demands, and the coordinating role of different groups and their demands is always lies with the government. So this is all, this is about the group theory. And group theory is given by three great philosophers, Charles Lindblom, Robert Hogg, Robert Dahl, and M. Paulsby. These are the three important philosophers who gave this theory. And the elite theory is given by Wilfredo Pareto, Robert Michels, Gautamo Mosca, C. Wright Mills, and others. Is given by these theories. So these two theories are very important in the policy making. And in the next class, we are going to discuss about the rational comprehensive model and incremental model. These are the two models that explain about the policy making process and policy formulation process. In fact, the policy decisions themselves are rational decisions. And these decisions are to be taken only with the help of certain groups. So they are called as the rational choice approaches, rational comprehensive model. And there is also another model called incremental model. In the incremental model, the government aims to improve the socio-economic conditions of the people in different phases. So in the first phase, it wants to develop some 5% to 10%. And in the second phase, it plans to develop 15 to 20%. And in the third place, it plans to develop people some 40 to 50%. Likewise, so the government always increases the position of welfare to the people in a visual manner. This is called as incremental model. So friends, these are some of the issues related to public policy. Today we have completed two important aspects. The first one is the elite theory, and the second one is the group theory. In the next class, we are going to discuss a rational comprehensive model and incremental model. These are the two models that we are going to study tomorrow. So thank you, friends. Thank you very much. And tomorrow also by the same time we have the class. Thank you.